Good morning, my family. I woke up on day 3 of working on our sourdough starter, the new sourdough starter that I'm working with you. And I woke up to an amazing surprise I have to show you. I told you we were not worried technically about the rise. We were wanting it to ferment. This has been sitting for now day 3. It is Thursday morning, and I went to uncover my baby sourdough, and this is what we have. Give you all these beautiful bubbles. It has risen half of what its amount is in the jar from where you could see where that rubber band line is. It is now half. This baby is definitely ready to be fed today. So I'm going to allow this to drop just a little bit before I've seen that the dome is now finished. If it's still rising, it will have a dome on the top. When it is done, reached its peak, you will turn around and allow it to drop down. Again, just because it's risen, it is not ready for making bread. You need at least a good week before you even consider doing bread. So this is going to be discard. We are going to feed it. You're just going to get rid of the discard. You are not going to bake with this. So we will be back as soon as this starts to drop a little bit. And I have some recipes for you today that we're going to work in the kitchen as well. So we are heading into Christmas, and it's time for some Christmas cookies, but not your typical cookies. So we shall be back. Oh, as I have mentioned, it is Christmas in 2 weeks, and I'm listening to my Christmas music. I wish I could have that when I'm doing this with you. It is so cool. It's warm, fuzzy. I just love it. What I am fixing to do today, I had mentioned that we are doing Christmas cookies. Now, a few that I absolutely love is one, gingerbread cookies, and I will be doing those. But right now, I ran across something I have not had in a long time, and that would be homemade graham crackers. Now, I have always bought the store graham crackers, but I've never done homemade, and we are going to work on that today. Another thing that I'm going to work on, which I love this time of year, is anise pizzellis, or otherwise known as anise pizzellis. They are an Italian Christmas cookie. They are made in a press. Now, with me and my family, we have a heritage line of Norwegian. And so I am also going to be making a Christmas cookie called a krumkake. And oh my goodness. So I am going to be learning how to make these as well, along with a new type of cracker that I absolutely love. And they are a Norwegian crisp cracker. They are made with several different kinds of seeds, from pumpkin to flax meal to chia seeds and so many other sunflowers. So we're going to be learning so many new things as we go along, but let's work on Christmas. I don't do the ordinary. I will do sugar cookies. I'm going to do a small batch of that with my grandkids, but for the most part, I think outside the box, and I do basically what I can for heritage style and different cookies than most people do. But today, let's concentrate on the homemade graham crackers, because I really want to try these. And I have a surprise on that too. So let's get started. All right, yes, I am going to be using a mixer. If you don't have a mixer, you can still do this recipe. You just have to do it by hand, that's all. We are going to cream together some unsalted butter. We need 6 tablespoons of room temperature softened unsalted butter. So I am going to cut this into 6 tablespoons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to add this in here. Now, if you want to cream your ingredients together and you don't have a mixer like I do, which is absolutely fine, just use a hand mixer. That will work just as well. We are going to need, now this is the All-American, y'all. It's going to have all the regular ingredients on this round. So we need 6 tablespoons of unsalted butter, a 1/3 cup of brown sugar, and yes, I will have the recipe in the description box like I always do for y'all. I need 1 tablespoon of honey, and I am fortunate on my honey. I have, well, home raised honey. We had our bees before they up and flew the coop on us. They left me some honey, so I am going to be using my fresh honey from the farm. I miss it too. I love our honey, but hopefully we can catch a swarm this year. I'm going to use 1 tablespoon of our beautiful honey. Sometimes I feel like I'm spoiled. The Lord does spoil me, I tell you. And that would be our honey. And then we need 1 egg. And I have farm fresh eggs, so we're going to add that. Mind y'all, this is our pantry challenge, and I am using what we have within the homestead. Now I'm going to take this and go cream this together. Once this is creamed, we will be right back. Okay, so we have our wet mix creamed. Now we're going to work on the dry mix. Now these, remember, are graham crackers. Now a little bit of information most people don't, we never thought of. Graham crackers has that unique flavoring, but I did not ever know that it had a mixture with whole wheat flour. Now usually it was done with a mix called graham flour. The only difference between graham flour and whole wheat flour is whole wheat is a little bit more finer than graham. So you can absolutely use whole wheat flour if you don't have graham flour. Usually those in the UK had more of graham flour than us in the United States. So we use whole wheat. So you are going to need 3/4 cup of whole wheat flour and 3/4 cup, and this one, all-purpose flour. I need a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. A 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. A 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda. I absolutely love these things, by the way. This is so cool. And a 1/2 teaspoon of cinnamon. That beautiful cinnamon flavor. My cinnamon comes from the Amish store. That is the reason why it's in this container right here. So I need a 1/2 teaspoon of it. And now I'm just going to take and mix this all together. Oh, it smells like Christmas. Now I'm going to go add this to the wet ingredients. Once this is good and mixed, we just want to add it to where it comes together. We don't want to over mix it or nothing. So I'm going to go ahead, add this to my wet ingredients. Once it's all mixed together, we will be right back. Alright, so now we have our dough ready to go. And we're just going to flatten this down a little bit because we want to flatten this to a 1/4 inch thick. using 2 pieces of parchment paper. Now, I am actually looking for me to be able to get bigger silicone mats because I think those are easier to work with than this. But this works as well. So I'm just now going to roll this out until it's 1/4 inch thick. And that direction. And this way. So this is going to take a bit. So once I get this rolled out, I will come back and show you what we'll do this next step. Okay, y'all, I had to get out my heavier rolling pin, but we finally got this done. And so now I am going to take this, we're going to put this in the freezer until it's stiff, kind of frigid, at least maybe 20-30 minutes, just to make sure that it's good and stiff. And then once you get this nice and cold, we'll bring this back out and show you what we're going to do next. This smells so good. I can't wait to finish this. So we shall be right back. All right, my family, you know that that batch is sitting in the freezer now, and we know that this is not for a diabetic. But did you honestly think that I would forget about the rest of my family? It's Christmas. I wouldn't do that. So now let's do a low-carb version of homemade graham crackers. Now, granted, they're not going to be the same, but we're going to see how we can do with these. I've never tried this recipe. I'm going to go ahead and give it a try. I actually got this recipe from I Dream About Food All Day. I think that's the name of her channel. So we're going to give this one a try. We'll see how this one works out. But I can't forget about my family. It is Christmas, and I am working at making these beautiful goods for everybody. So let's go back to the kitchen and make up this batch while our other batch is in the freezer. All right, my family, so the low carb version, this one would call for 2 cups of almond flour. Now I'm going to sift this because I don't like a chunky up flour mix. So I'm going to add this in here, and we're going to sift this on down. We're going to get this as close as we can to somewhat of a graham cracker. And it's kind of got the same ingredients, only the difference is the all-purpose and whole wheat flour is replaced by basically a nut flour. So, but we know that sometimes we have to sacrifice just to be able to have something we might, I mean, we like. Let's face it, we all like it. But I'm going to try and make this as close as I can, y'all. And if this don't work, then I'll go back to the drawing board. I continue to keep doing that until I find that right one. This one had good reviews, so we'll see. Alright, so we've taken our flour and done this with it. Now I need 1/3 cup of Swerve brown sugar. Again, your recipe will be in the description below the other one. So both recipes are going to be in the description box for all of you. I need 2 teaspoons of cinnamon on this one. Whoops. Right here. One and 2. I need 1 teaspoon of baking powder. And this one here I want leveled off nicely. And then I need just a pinch of salt. Now I'm going to mix this all together. It smells good. Smells like that graham cracker. And I have learned, really, there isn't a whole lot of recipes for this stuff. And we all know that sometimes we can find low-carb stuff, and will it measure up? Sometimes it just hasn't. So I'm praying for the best out of this one as well. All right, so we've got these ingredients. Now we're going to go ahead and add our liquid ingredients. We are going to need 1 egg, and I am using my farm fresh egg. And then I need 2 tablespoons of melted butter. And these will be cooked at the same amount. By the way, my oven is preheated to 300 degrees. And then I need 1 teaspoon of vanilla. And that's it for the ingredients. And we're just going to mix this all together, incorporate it really well. Make sure we get everything mixed in here together. It's going to look like it's dry, y'all, but it's really not. You got to give that liquid a time to absorb into that almond flour. But when you go to put it together, if it sticks like this, that's what we want. So it's not as dry as you think it is. It does absolutely have moisture. So I'm going to go ahead and finish this up. I'm going to mix these ingredients, and then we are going to be back with the next stage of this one. All right, we have our dough done. You know, I was sitting here thinking as I was doing this, how awesome actually God had been with me. I am a person who doesn't technically have health issues besides having being in remission from thyroid cancer, which I'm really thankful for. But I chose to take this journey when my husband was diagnosed as a diabetic. And it proved to me that it helped me a great deal when I lost my weight. I took every risk chances I was heading for and decreased them immensely. But what became the blessing is where I can be here for all, just about all. I can be here for diabetics. I can be here for those who just have Mediterranean or All-American. I am so versatile. And I just have to be thankful for that. So I'm going to now, just like I did that first round, we are going to roll this dough out. Again, we want a 1/4 inch thickness on these. So we're just going to spend this time to roll this out between 2 sheets of parchment paper or silicone. I am actually using the silicone mat on the bottom of this because this one's going to be done differently than our first round. So I'm just going to take and roll this out. Once I get this rolled out, I will show you what we're going to do on this next batch. Okay, so we now have our dough rolled out as neat as we possibly can. I'm not much to get it perfectly squared off, but I do the best. Now we're going to take a pizza roller. You don't want to press really deep. You just want to kind of square it off, and I am not perfect at this. Give me a minute and I'll get a ruler. Okay, so this is a bit much as far as I need it on the ruler, but it's as close as I'm going to get. So I'm just going to take this and make my mark lightly across here. Oops, sorry y'all. And then right about there. Yeah, these are not going to be perfect, that's for sure. I'm going to go ahead and mark this off like so. Actually, I have another idea, because that last row wasn't exactly where I needed it to be, so I'm just going to kind of mark these right here like so, and then that one is going to be about the same way. Just do this. Those will be a little bit longer, and it's okay. All right, so now we're going to take a fork and we're going to do the little holes like the crackers have. Now these here, I'm going to also go ahead, just like a regular graham cracker basically, I'm going to go ahead and make a line down the center. These will make these a little bit smaller, but I'm just going to do just that lightly top. And then we're just going to go ahead and poke our holes. I am looking into a docket. A docket is what does this mark in a single roll. So I am waiting on that one. In the meantime, we're just going to use a fork. Now some of these cookies are going to be bigger, but we can always break them down when we go to eat them. These will be more like a graham cookie than it will be a cracker, because we are using almond flour. But everybody gets a chance to have something that they enjoy. And we're just going to finish this off. I'm having fun playing with my food, just sticking this. And definitely it is not perfect, that's for sure. On these, it's not really necessary to do this, but the other ones, it is absolutely necessary. So we're just doing this basically for the looks of it. And that's it. So now I'm going to take this mix right here. We do not have to freeze this one like the other one. So we're going to put this straight onto our baking sheet and then pop this in our preheated 300-degree oven. We're going to let this bake for about 30 minutes. Once the 30 minutes are up on this, we will come back and I will show you. These cook a little longer, so we're going to keep an eye on this, and we're going to go ahead and bake it our first round. All right, y'all, so now on our first batch, it came out of the freezer. So like the second, we're going to now take our pizza wheel. I lost my way. And I am going to score these graham crackers. Again, I am going to use a fork to make sure that these are pricking with the fork, because this will puff up otherwise. I'm just going to go ahead and score the best way I can with my lines. I'm not into perfection, y'all, so just going to roll this up here. And yeah, these are not perfectly squared, but I'm going to eat them. My belly ain't going to know the difference. Only you will by looking at them. Okay, now we take this fork. Again, I'm waiting on my docket, so I'm going to use a fork. And we're going to go ahead and pop these. Once I get this done, I'll be right back. All right, we finally got that one done. Now, just like we did before, we're going to go ahead, cover this back up. We're going to put this back into the freezer until, again, it is frigid. In the meantime, we're working on our low carb version for diabetics in the oven. Okay, y'all, so I have my oven. It's been set at 300. I'm actually going to drop it down, or lower it down to 275, because mine seems to cook a little bit too fast. Now this is about the 20-minute mark for me, and I already have the golden edges, so I needed to pull this out. Now I'm actually going to, one of these edges got a little too dark, so I had to pull it. But now it says to actually go through here and break these apart, allow them to cool just a little bit. I didn't exactly do that. They are coming apart quite well though. So I'm going to go ahead and let these cool first. We're going to actually put these back in the oven after we get these pulled apart, and we're going to shift them a little, which honestly I'm just going to do it like this. As you can see, I can actually move them. We're just going to go ahead and do this while we're at it. I'm just going to go back through my scoring. As you can see, they will come apart either way. So, here, let me just go ahead and do this. These are soft yet, so they're not ready to be crunchy. They do got to go back in the oven. We're just basically pulling these apart. Just like so. And this up under here will break in half. Actually, these are coming apart rather well. I'm actually surprised. That one was kind of too big. I'm actually going to cut this one in half too, because it was actually a little bit too big. Oops. Well, that's why you perforate them first. They break otherwise. I guess I'm going to have to deal with those being big cookies. Now space this while I'm at it. Go through here and pull this apart as well. Okay. Oops, that one didn't quite. There we go. Come apart. Oh, that's a hot pan. I don't know why I do that to myself sometimes. Alright, now I'm just going to go ahead and put these back in the oven. And what we're doing is, at this point, drying them out a little bit. Keep an eye on them. I did drop my oven degrees down because they were cooking a little too fast, and I really don't want burnt graham crackers. So, and when it comes to low carb food, I have noticed that the sugars, the swerve brown sugars and some of the monk fruits, these tend to brown very quickly. So keep an eye on these. These are not like your typical baking stuff. And we're going to go ahead and put this back in the oven. I'll be turning these around, try to get it more even, and then we will get this to where we can get them cooked a little bit sturdier. And now when they come out of the oven at that point, let me get these in there. When they do come out of the oven, they're still going to be soft, but as they cool off within 10 minutes or so, they'll start becoming more crisp. So let's get these baked and we will be right back. Alright, y'all, I pulled these from the oven about 7 minutes because they were starting to get too dark. I'm going to set these aside and we're going to let these cool. When I come back, I will talk to you a little bit about these. Alright, my family, I did tell you these were low carb, and anything low carb we know is different. I have told you over the time that I like to try the best. Now, in my opinion, I have tried these, and I will tell you, to me, it says 1/3 cup of sugar, brown sugar. I would probably raise this up to maybe a half a cup. it's not sweet enough. It is grainy, unlike any graham cracker you've ever known, so please know that. All in all, it's not a bad substitute, but it's not actually a graham cracker. This is more like a graham cookie, but it's a bit drier. I think, honestly, these would work in a pinch, but I think I'm going to go ahead and try a different recipe, and before I make any more with test runs like I do with you right now, I'm not going to have you waste your products. So let's just say I did a test run on this. I will put the recipe in the description if you want to try it, but I think I'm going to keep going until I find that right substitute, because this to me isn't it. But just in case it is for you, I will put the recipe in there. Matter of fact, I will just send you the link to where I got the recipe from. But these didn't impress me, so we'll come back to the low carb ones. And I am so sorry, y'all. This is the reason why I do this before you have to spend products. But I mean, they're not bad. I'm not gonna say they're bad. They break. They're a little bit soft. Well, these are still warm, but I mean, they still break like a graham cracker, and they will in a pinch. So that was rude of me. Sorry, y'all. I have no idea what I was thinking on that one. I am so sorry. Right now, I'm going to bring my temps back to 300. And we're going to go get our other graham crackers. We'll try these out and see how this batch works. This is the one that we're working on that is not for diabetics. It's just basically the all-American graham cracker. So I will be right back. We'll get that one set up and let's get this started. Okay, so this is the first set that we did. This is the non-diabetic version. Now this, you want your oven preheated and you want to turn it up to 350 degrees. These will not be cooked as long. They go in the oven for 12 to 14 minutes. So I'm going to go ahead and pop these in the oven. We're going to set our timer. I'm going to start for 12 minutes. I need a new timer. Okay. I'm going to start this for 12 minutes, and then we will be back to see how they're doing. About 6 minutes in, I am going to turn this pan so we can get an even baking. In the meantime, we're going to stir this little bad boy down. Let me turn this up a little bit for you. In the meantime, we're going to go ahead and take baby sourdough starter that we started, I cannot believe this, 3 days ago. This is amazing. The bubble formation, I don't know if you can see this. It's taken a while for it to come down too. It's just so light, so airy. I am absolutely amazed. And I really hope you all are getting the same sourdough effect as I am with this. This is just a 3-day baby starter, y'all. This isn't even from, and I promise you, I did this on camera with you. This is that same starter. There is no tricks, no nothing. This is seriously that same starter. So let's go ahead and bring this down. We're going to go ahead and feed this. We're going to put it up in a warm place, and we're going to see what happens. All right, y'all. I had told you that I work by grams and by a scale. It is the only thing I actually found that works. So we are on day 3, and I'm hoping some of you catch on to day 1 if you are coming in later on this. Now, a couple things you should know by now. If your starter on day 3 did not rise, don't worry about it. We're not really looking for it to rise. What we were looking for is it to start building up the bubbles in this, getting airy, because we wanted to be able to, for it to start forming its bacteria, the good bacteria that it needs. However, occasionally it can pick up a bad bacteria. Now, for some, you may have Some instances where I've heard sourdough will have a dry layer on top. Nothing wrong. Pull that layer off. You're perfectly fine. Another one would say is occasionally they would find a small amount of mold at the top of it. As long as it's not pink, pull that off. Don't let it sit there, but pull that off. It is still usable at this point. If your sourdough turns pink, please do not save that. Trash it. Get rid of it. It is not worth keeping. Another thing you will find, and there's a reason why we are not using this until after a week, preferably the best part or best time to actually use a baby sourdough like this is a month later. It is going to go through so many different scents. It could go through the scent of lacquer or nail polish remover because it's hungry. It builds up what's called hooch. It can go through a phase that will smell like a boy's locker room. Nasty, stinky feet. Sorry, I don't know how else to explain it. It will go through a different stages of scent before it reaches that nice sourdough balance. So your baby is going to go through all sorts of different things. Now at this point, this is where we have to feed it every day. Now, I will say, once we feed it today, if it does not rise, now I'm not expecting this to rise within the first 4 hours. That is a typical sourdough. The more mature sourdough, they will usually rise within 4 to 8 hours. This baby could take a whole day, maybe into the next day. Do not feed it until it has reached its halfway point, risen, and then drops. You do not want to feed your sourdough anytime before that because it hasn't eaten its nutrients up. It hasn't eaten its food, and it needs that chance to do that before you could feed it. Otherwise, you're just going to be doing a lot of waste. So allow that baby to feed from its food before you start replenishing it. Again, this could take an entire day. Wait until it rises, and this can affect due to the temperature is not warm enough. A typical sourdough starter loves anywhere from 65 to 75 degrees. So it just might not be warm enough in your kitchen for it to rise. Give it time. Be patient. Don't jump ahead and think you just ruined it. So it's nurturing. It's a baby. It's got a lot to grow. So we are going to empty the entire content of this jar. We're going to put this into a container. We are going to feed this a 1-to-2 ratio. And I will explain that. And this feeding is what it's going to get every single day. Now, I do like to keep a clean jar. So I'm actually, it's not necessary, but for in the beginning stages, I like to keep my jars clean. So I will be right back because I do want to clean this one. Okay, y'all. So I even have a nice warm jar for this baby. You want to make sure in the beginning, especially the babies, when you add your water as well, I am using distilled water or filtered water. Make sure it's kind of warm. This baby is going to need to be conditioned. So we want to start out with 25 grams of starter. That was a bit much. Just get it as close as you can. 25, yes. All right, The rest of this, remember, this is called discard. This is not usable yet, so please don't use this. Do not throw this down your sink either. It will create such a cement in your pipes, even watered down. I learned the hard way, so I just trash it in my garbage. Yes, nobody likes to get rid of discard, but this honestly is not even considered sourdough discard yet. This is actually a mess. I'm going to clear this out. Make sure I got all of my starter down at the bottom, because I end up pulling mine, so get that down there. Now, if you remember right, we had made up a mix in the first. So now we have 25 grams of starter. We need the 2 ratio, the 1, 2, 2. The 1 was 25. The 2 is 50 grams of flour mix and 50 grams of water. You know what? I think we're going to start out, because these are very fresh. Let's just start out with 1, 1, 1 ratio. 25 grams starter, 25 grams flour, 25 grams water. Watch and see how your baby does. If it decides that it hooches too fast, we need to raise it up to a 1, 2, 2. But we're going to start with 25, 25, 25. So 25 grams of starter, 25 flour, and 25 water. This is the best way. It's not as harsh on these babies. All right. Now we're just going to mix this. Let me go ahead and get my cookies. All right, y'all. Now we're going to go ahead and mix this up really good. Just like we did the first time. Make sure all of our flour is into our mix. Just like so. Again, this will be thick. And this all depends on the humidity level, temperature, and how this is going to react. So I have my baby now fed. We're just going to go ahead and leave it here. I'm going to remark. Let's see here. We can always change this if need to. What we need to do is watch the reaction of how our baby works. So I'm going to bring my mark down, because we just seem to take a decrease right now. If your baby decides to, within 4 hours, start rising and all that, write this down. If you get the reaction that your baby's going to start rising, it's doing amazingly beautiful within 4 hours, nothing to worry about, go ahead the next day and feed your ratio 1, 2, 2. That would be 25 grams of starter, 50 grams of your flour mix, which is your bread flour, whole wheat, and 50 grams of filtered water. So if it does super great, go ahead and do that. If your baby is undecided and we are not sure what it's going to do just yet, start with the 1, 1, 1. We don't want to push it and we don't want to destroy it. So I can always up my game on this, and I just want to see how this baby does with the 1, 1, 1 ratio. I really hope I'm not confusing you. I told you sourdough can be a science project, but we're starting out with 1, 1, 1. For those who started the same day as me, watch your starter at this point. All you do, again, just like before, put it all the way, back it up 1, set it on your counter in a warm spot, leave it alone. Let it do its thing and keep an eye on what it's going to do. So let me go ahead and get our graham crackers and we'll be right back. All right, y'all. I told you these are not perfect. So I am going through here breaking my graham crackers down. These are definitely crispy and they're not perfect. I did break some of these, so I'm just going through here breaking at that perforated edges. We're going to give these a try and see how they turned out. And I will try not to be rude, but that ought to show y'all what I think. With You're With Me, I really don't look at it as this is some kind of show. I actually look at this as you are with me in my kitchen, and sometimes I can absolutely lose my manners, and I am so sorry. Okay, so let me get these situated, and we will be right back to try this. All right. With me, you're not going to get the in the line perfect, beautiful display of baked goods that we just did. They're graham crackers on a plate. So we are going to try this and see how they turned out. I have never made homemade graham crackers before, so we'll see how this works. All right, y'all. So these, unlike your store-bought, these are definitely not it again. I'm going to go back to the drawing board. You know, sometimes I will do these videos, and I probably should know better. I should probably do test runs first. Again, these can work, but in my opinion, in my flavor, you all know I'm very particular. To me, these are a bit dry. They just, I don't know, they just, now if you mixed them with marshmallows and your chocolate, or dip these in chocolate, okay, I could actually see these working. But plain like this, maybe before they go in baking, I would sprinkle them with a little bit of cinnamon sugar on top, and maybe that will help it. But for me, these are too dry. So I'm going to go and try a different recipe. Again, just like the low carb, I'm going to make sure that I come up with my go-to recipes like I told you all. These are real. I told you my channel is completely real. We try things together, and then I let you know whether we did good or not. But I will also save you from wasting your ingredients. I would rather take the hit than you to take the hit. So my opinion, I'm going to look for a second batch, and I'm probably going to do that today while I'm in the kitchen. So like I said, these will work. To me, they're just a little bit too dry. If anything else, we did get our baby worked out. So let's see how this works, see where we can go from here. And until next time, back to the drawing board, y'all. And I will put the recipe in the descriptions for these. You could do what you want with them. Maybe you might like them. Maybe you're not as picky as me. But a lot of you have come to learn or come to trust my instincts. So, and I don't want to steer you wrong now. I'm not just going to throw anything at you and say, hey, this is what it is. No, I'm going to be honest with you in everything I do. If the food is not up to par for me, I'm going to let you know. Unfortunately, this seemed to have been a long video for it to not be up to par. But again, this is how things happen. And my channel has always been real. So let's go back to the drawing board. Love you. Until next time I come back. Hopefully we'll have something better on that one. See you again. Much love to each and every one of you. God bless you from Parton's Heritage Homestead.